That's not a comic book. Now that's a comic book.
Alright, hey everyone, welcome to another episode of Trade Talk. This week we were talking about Batman Roads to No Man's Land Volume 1. Again, I'm not going to so much happens in this that I'm not going to go through the ABC of the plot. And that's one of the things I really like about this book. It is just chaos. You are just dealing with so many different things. But while Cataclysm was about the overall decline, or the fast decline, the heart pumping, oh my god, and the just human tragedy of a natural disaster, and a little bit of the after effects of just dealing with what would this be like in a place like Gotham, this is where that stuff really starts to feel appropriate in what would Gotham do in reaction to this. So let's go over some of the big things that happened in Cataclysm. Of course, the city's in ruins. A lot of villains have escaped from Blackgate. Arkham seems to still be in okay shape, though. But overall, there's a lot of chaos going on, and most of the buildings in Gotham that are not Wayne properties are completely destroyed and never coming back. And so that's kind of like all the context for what's going on here, where we've got villains roaming the streets, we've got gangs rising in power, we've got people who are desperate and turning to, obviously very extreme measures like looting and gangs. And then we've got Bruce Wayne trying to solve it all here. Quick note before I go on, I fucking love the way Mark Buckingham draws Batman. Look, it's so good. 90s Batman is my heroine. Man, I gotta give a lot of credit to the inker on that as well, though. Wayne Faucher, Faucher. But anyway, so you got just a lot of chaos and a lot of rampant, opportunism from very wrong elements. And meanwhile, Bruce Wayne is trying to save the city. This is interesting. There is an issue I do want to make sure I talk about a moment from Batman number 556, which is in this trade. Because in that issue, we just get a meeting at Wayne Enterprises as Bruce Wayne tries to, crisis manage, and just deal with the government side of not the government side, the civilian side of this tragedy, and I really like that about it. Okay, so here's just a absolutely fantastic scene as Bruce Wayne talks to Lucius Fox and a couple other members of Wayne Enterprises about the relief effort. Go ahead, Mr. Preston. Well, Mr. Wayne, as your head bead accountant, I feel it's my duty to make sure you're aware of the fiscal facts of life. Not only are profits suspended for the duration, but the drain on our financial reserves is, consider your duty done, Preston. Until this city is back on its feet, job performance will be judged by criteria other than profits. Sir, by the swift improvement of everyday life in Gotham. And speaking of which, carry on, people. You're doing fine. So there's just a great scene for all the Batman could do so much more with his money as Bruce Wayne than be Batman. I love that. Wayne Enterprises is running low on profits. I don't give a damn about profits. Help the people. It's a good moment. Also, there's just like a lot of dark shit that happens in this book. That's just goddamn. Like, there's this moment where Bruce is trying to get to these group of people who are trapped in this upscale area, and they've been trapped there for 14 days. And you're like, 14 days? They're dead. They'd starve. But they're there and they're like, yeah, we're gonna draw straws because we're gonna have to eat one of us. And so Batman's rushing there the whole time. They're sitting there debating about which one's gonna get eaten and all this stuff. And then a fight breaks out and one of them dies. I just love the way this is visualized right here, as they all just black and beady little white eyes looking at the fresh meat. They look like predators there. That's great. But just in that moment is when Batman shows up, and I love his reactions. Like, don't be afraid. I'm here to help you get out. And this guy's just like, oh Lord, no, you're too late. I killed him for nothing. For nothing. And then I like this reveal that we get at the end. I believe this was Ralph Jones' apartment. Did he survive? Yes, he broke his leg, hit his head. He was unconscious. Where is he now? We killed him on the 7th day. They ate him. They ate out one guy already, and then they waited 7 days and we're going to eat another, and that's just how long it took Batman or anybody to get to them. And just, I like it because that's a really good tone setter, because I think that's the first or second issue in this. Yeah, it's the second issue in this. That and the first issue of Clayface and Mr. Freeze causing havoc in the city in the midst of all this chaos is just a really good tone setter for things are not getting better. The worst is not behind them. The quake has stopped. The ramifications are just beginning. That is just a really, really great... I love it. Anyway, so it just gives you a great sense of how desperate and how crazy things are getting, and how Bruce doesn't have the resources to deal with all of it. I really like this other moment where this building has just fallen right across a main street. It's just laying there, and the rich asshole who owns it is just pissy and whiny about how he's not making any money right now. And the city is like, we're going to have to demolish this building so we can get relief supplies through to other parts of the city faster. And he's like, no, don't you dare touch it. I'll file an injunction against the city. And Bruce is just pissed. So he just hops in a fucking bulldozer that's at the scene ready to take it down and just carves a hole straight through it himself, just to try to get something done. So you really, in everybody, you're feeling the desperation. And I love this moment that he has with his parents. I vowed to protect the innocent. I promised that no one would suffer if I could do anything to stop it. I've lived these years to be a guardian to the entire city, but there's little I can do against disease and natural disasters. A lost cause can become a fool's errand. I'm still only human. I did what was humanly possible. I hope you don't think I've failed in my promise. And I renew that promise now to the graves of his parents. I really like that. In all honesty, this should have been the cover to Road to No Man's Land, as people are just realizing the hopelessness, and a number of them are straight abandoning the city throughout this volume, which I think is really, really interesting. And it's not just the people that are abandoning it, everyone's abandoning it. And this is an interesting commentary, since I know that Chuck Dixon is a conservative and a bit of a dickhead, from what I've gathered about him. Chuck, if you're watching, feel free to challenge me on that, and I'll throw your own words back in your face. But this is a weird commentary, because it's not all Chuck. There's Dave Monek and Alan Grant writing, and I don't know their political persuasion. But, like, all these corporations are leaving Gotham City, too, and they're not planning to rebuild. Wayne can't convince them. Wayne offers to help finance their rebuilding costs, to help get them back on their feet, because he knows the people of Gotham need a reason to stay, need hope, need something to do in Gotham. They can't just sit and wait for the buildings to go back up. They're going to need a reason to be here when they do. And so it's like if everybody leaves, if major corporations leave, if no one can get a job, why would anyone stay in Gotham? And he realizes that. But even offering them literally everything, offering to essentially bankrupt himself, he can't convince them to stay. And that's just really interesting, you know? Because that is the very corporate thing to do. I've no doubt in my mind that if New York City was rocked by an earthquake overnight, every major corporation that's housed there and a lot of the corporate employers there would get the fuck out of town. They wouldn't plan to rebuild. Hell no. They'd go somewhere else where it's safer. It's about minimizing risk. So, I don't know. How does a conservative writer feel about something like that? Just intriguing. Little things that pass through my head. So they're just gone. It's so interesting. Like, there's stuff with the Mad Hatter and all these other villains popping up, and I just don't care about that at all. What makes this interesting is all the social and political stuff that's happening behind the scenes with Bruce Wayne. And there's like a cloud of gas, blah, 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 darkness, city under threat, blah, 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 blah. Don't really care. Someone tries to break into Wayne Manor and Alfred pulls a Die Hard, which is pretty cool. Huntress is in an issue. I don't even remember what happens in that. It's so nothing to me. A little girl convinces her not to kill someone in front of her face. That's nice. Montoya, like, this was weird. We get a whole issue of just, like, basically prose describing something that happened to her brother. I didn't really care for that one that much. There was one really, really good scene with Montoya and Bullock, though. Let's see if I can find that real quick. Here we go. So they go to stop some looters, and the looters just kind of rush past them, knock Montoya over, and Harvey Bullock's like, you alright, Montoya? Answer me, kid, are you hurt? No. Then what is it? Tell me, Renee. It's no use, Harv, no use at all. Hopeless. Snap out of it, Montoya. Greater numbers, they overwhelmed us, no big I recognized one of them, Harv. He was my cousin, and last spring I became a godmother to his daughter, but did he abandon her, or was he trying to feed her? God help me, Harv, but I don't even know if the little girl is still alive. You just get a real sense of just, like, how fucking hopeless it is in this extreme situation, and that is the best part about this, is just what would happen in something so dire as this? What would go down? And, like, the way they show the crime of Gotham City, which is in this time in DC, the highest crime rate in the nation, and obviously people will be opportunistic with that, especially as resources dwindle and the police are spread thinner and thinner and thinner. And you've shown just how dark it gets when Bruce Wayne goes to visit his parents' grave, and he finds grave robbers at another site. And he's just like, it's gotten to that point where it's just that damn dark. I think that's really, really effective writing. I think that is just a really, really great way to show just how it's not getting any better. And it just shows you by just having, nothing in this really feels that unbelievable. Like, unbelievable for DC. Nothing feels like a stretch. Nothing in this feels like, oh, well, that would never happen. Like, that's just ridiculous to assume anything like that could happen. No, a lot of this feels very real. I haven't read up on the events post-Katrina in a long time, but I should probably do that, because I know there was a lot of Obviously, a lot of crime, a lot of shit going down when that happened. So it'd be interesting to look into some of the darker side of what went down there when just something so horrific happened. And then I really, really like this scene as you see why people are wanting to leave, because it's looking like they're not going to have a chance to get out. This is a great metaphor, by the way. They're all, like, rushing out of town any way they can get, even if it's on foot. And a number of them are on a suspension bridge leaving the city when it snaps, and they all drop and plunge into the rivers. You know, that's a really great sense of, if you don't get out now, is there any guarantee you're going to be able to? And so it's fun to read this in a way, given how people were talking. When I was doing my live show last week, I skimmed over the comments after the fact on Cataclysm, and people were debating, is Cataclysm better than No Man's Land? And I think they're very different things. You just need one for the other. And people were debating, well, that would never happen. The government would never completely abandon a major American city like that. And I'm not entirely sure that's accurate. I mean, there are large sections of New Orleans that have never been properly restored. There's, some things are just left when they're that damaged. And we're not talking about, a couple buildings fell. Let's say Bruce Wayne owns a ridiculous number of buildings in Gotham. 25%. Bruce Wayne owns a fourth of the buildings in Gotham. 75% either fell or were so heavily damaged by the quake that fixing them is not an option. They'll have to be torn down and rebuilt from the ground up. That is still not unreasonable to assume that you could salvage that city. But on top of that, you have a population which has no interest in being there. So you have no working population that wants to be a part of the city anymore. You have no interest from employers. And keep in mind, this is America, like, me, I'm my lefty commie bastard self. But keeping just in mind of real life American politics, you have no interest from employers in relocating to Gotham. And then on top of that, you've got gangs and supervillains roaming the streets, gaining more and more power, gaining more footholds. There's a great scene in here where Jim Gordon and Batman talk about the fact that the old mob is resurfacing in the chaos. The police are not going to be able to rebuild fast enough to keep up with them. And on top of that, other organized crime divisions from outside of Gotham are moving in now because there's so much opportunity for them. That's a lot of factors. If you can't guarantee the safety of people to come in and clear debris, how are you going to guarantee the safety of people to come in and build? If you can't guarantee the safety of people to come in and build, how are you going to get anyone to live there? The idea that the city would just be straight abandoned and left as a no man's land, especially in DC continuity right now, with Coast City having been destroyed by in the whole Zero Hour, the lead up to 0 Hour. Yeah, I reasonably buy that. I think that they make a good case in this volume for why this would be believable enough within the context of the DC universe. Real life, maybe not, but I don't know. You have the city with the greatest crime rate in the country, and it has now become just the Wild West for criminals, wherein police have no hope. You've got National Guard and humanitarian aid there, and the situation is still damn hopeless for the people. And you can say, yeah, well, that's a mischaracterization of what rescue efforts would be like. Fair. I'd say look at what's happening in Puerto Rico right now. Maybe I should put a link for people to go donate to Puerto Rico. That'd probably be a good idea. It's 6 months without power almost? No, 3 months without power. That's a problem. Sour note. Sour thing to talk about. Sour note to end on there, isn't it? I actually don't want to end there. Let me see if I can find something else to end on. Oh, everyone say hi to Haley in the background. I don't know. There's a lot going on in this. Oh, let me talk about something I hate, because you guys always seem to enjoy that. So I have been on record as saying that the best thing Stephanie Brown ever did was die. And I will stand by that, sir. I will stand by that hard. But here's why I find that character just intolerable. Because she just has so many moments where I'm like, oh, God, just die. And then when Black Mask killed her, I was like, thank you. But there's this moment where Robin, checks in on her and the other girl Tim Drake was dating at the time. I don't even remember her name. And she's like, so what did you come by to see me for? And he's like, actually, I didn't, believe it or not. You just happened to be here. And she's like, and he goes, okay, see ya. She's like, as if. Face it, Boy Wonder, you got a bad case of the Stephs. Just die. God, I cannot stand Stephanie Brown. You got a bad case of the Stephs. Well, where do I go to a doctor to get that taken care of, for Christ's sake? Ugh, that is the cringiest fucking line. And it's not even like, oh, that's not in character for her. You know that's in character for Stephanie Brown. Deep down, you know that's her. She's totally the kind of person that would say that. And it was written by Chuck Dixon, too, so take that. Okay. That'll do it for this week's episode of Trade Talk. Next week, I'll be back with The Road to No Man's Land, Volume 2. So, everyone, thank you very much for watching. Until next time, bye.
That's not a comic book. Now that's a comic book.